You got to say something funny.
Hello everybody, welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
The 50,000 still on after 1 week, James?
He's not dead yet. Yeah, no.
Good. Just checking, because there will be 1 week where we will come in and we'll be like, it's gone now.
Yeah,
but it wasn't after game week 1.
That'll probably be next week.
Nah, I don't think so.
It was never going to be dead this week with the sort of selections I made and stuff. And I think that goes for the majority of people as well, unless you've gone too rogue. But yeah, I wouldn't say I've not had a great game week 1, but I wouldn't call it bad. Like I'm probably kind of 10 points behind kind of the field. I had a look through the Content Creators League. Most are kind of sort of high 90s.
I'm not in that league.
Low hundreds.
No one invited me to that Content Creators League. I create content.
Debatable. So I'm a little bit behind it. 91,
they don't want me in there.
91 first week for me. What about you?
They don't want me in there. They don't like me. Where did your points come from, the 91?
Primarily Friday night. Friday night I was sitting
captain.
there going, yeah, you know that bit. I was like, this game's easy because I picked Ruaidhri. So yeah, Captain Haaland went Ruaidhri. So Friday night was good. Saturday I knew was going to be a little bit challenging because I hadn't gone with an Arsenal attacker. So I captained Saliba over Dunk, which was the right choice out of the two. Although Dunk was very, very unlucky to lose his clean sheet. Mind you, could say the same about Saliba, but the assist obviously kicked him up a bit. But that was behind those who went obviously with Saka. Sunday I went with Mo, so returned an assist again. It was the right choice, and I just had Rashford captaincy. The Monday, the reality is there's nothing else in that for me from my week. So
Martinez is in goal, right?
Emi Martinez in goal.
Ouch.
Which you're not expecting anything from Newcastle away. The reason I went with Martinez in goal was I was quite keen on Ollie Watkins and I took him out. So I wanted to have a Villa coverage in place for this coming Sunday and judge it from there. And it's not to say I won't definitely go back for Ollie Watkins, by the way. That's why I started with Martinez, because I decided not to go with Watkins. Went Levi Colwill, again, wasn't expecting anything at the weekend. Went Nakamba, went with Morgan Gibbs-White, obviously ready for Friday. And the other one, I went with Richarlison, which came about from, it was the late change where I was going to go John Stones. Wasn't happy with any of the alternative City choices. And the obvious one was, we'll just go Watkins again and change the keeper. But I decided, you know what, it's clear at this point Kane's not going to be about. Let's go Richarlison at 8 million. Because I just think it was possibly going to save me a transfer in the next couple of weeks. Where I was looking at maybe moving a Chelsea player to a Tottenham player after Chelsea play Luton on that Friday night, was thinking if I start with Richarlison here, it's going to take away the temptation, might save me a transfer down the line. So I stuck him in. I mean, at 8 million, if he does well, it'll be a great option, wouldn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, I can't guarantee you that he will do well.
Nah.
but I don't think Tottenham aren't going to buy another forward. I'd be really surprised. If they do, I think it'll be someone that comes in as a backup to support. So I'm pretty sure he's going to play through the middle regularly enough. And those who watch the game on Sunday will already know that you're going to get a very different Tottenham this year. He will get chances.
Quite often, when we're talking about players, whether they're worth the price or what have you, we can compare against other players from the same club. So Rashford versus Bruno or what have you. Here, for Spurs, there's a clear price jump up to Maddison or Son, because they're 9.3 and 9.7, whereas Richarlison's 8. So
and he's also not taking one in midfield
and he's
spots.
A forward, which is the other big thing here. I ended up on 103 points, which was decent.
It's a good
helped
start.
By, I think it was okay. I decided in the end to go with Ruaidhri as well, which I didn't quite remember on Friday night, which you have to listen to the main pod to remember.
So nearly went Foden instead, by the way. So nearly.
Ruaidhri is just, I'll marry him and have his children if he wants. That's what he is to me in Sky Fantasy Football.
He's your comfort blanket, isn't it?
The choice ended up being Mitoma and Watkins versus Nakamba and Ruaidhri were my final two selection decisions. Mitoma, I was never going to captain because of Lewis Dunk being there and sitting there. So I thought, okay, well, do I really want to go with Mitoma if I'm never going to captain him?
That's the same for Ruaidhri.
That's true. But then I'm looking at Nakamba, and Nakamba's got the blank this week. So thinking about it when I was talking to Dread, I was like, well, what am I expecting?
Can you just explain that?
What?
Just while I was speaking to Dread.
Oh, at Fest, I was talking to Dread FPL about his Sky team because he had a few rogue names in there, like Esri Conser.
Wasn't there a film called Dread?
Yeah.
It wasn't that Dread.
No, it wasn't. So Nakamba, my best hope is to get 5 points out of him maybe this week.
You ain't get nothing this week.
No, but 2 points, but maybe 5, and I was never going to get 10. Whereas if we always go back to what we said previously, a transfer is worth 10 points. I'm like, well, if I don't start with Nakamba, I'm booking myself in a transfer for the Luton West Ham game, which is 10 points. Is the loss of not having him over the next few weeks 10 points or more? I've decided it's better just to start with Nakamba. So I ended up with Nakamba and Ruaidhri over Mitoma and Watkins. Partially regret that, if I'm honest with you, for captaincy reasons, which we'll talk about.
Okay.
But I ended up with Haaland and Ruaidhri on Friday. Haaland captain, lovely. I went with Saka captain on Saturday, and I owned Saliba. The gap wasn't as big as it could have been between the two in terms of points. But what that meant is on the Sunday, I didn't have Salah, because obviously I've got Saka, and I had Trent. I captained Trent over Salah. Trent's 1 pointer versus Salah's 5. Like, that was one that could have hurt me bad and didn't, and might come back to hurt me this Saturday against Bournemouth, but we shall see. But because I got Alisson in goal, Alisson plus Trent cancelled out Salah. In terms of 4 and 1 equals 5. So because I had Alisson in goal, it saved me from getting hit too badly on the Sunday.
Double Liverpool defence.
And Rashford, obviously on the Monday, which was the same as everybody, really. The sprinklings in between were, like you said, Dunk. I've got Colwill, Gibbs-White, and Nakamba. Trent was a concern because I thought moving into midfield would increase his chances of a passing tier or maybe a tackle tier. There were no tiers to be seen in sight for that guy. Having said that, he had an assist for a disallowed goal and just a little bit tidier defending, and maybe Chelsea don't score and he's on for like a 10, 12, 13 pointer. Fine margins. Gibbs-White is frustrating to look at in my team, but
you don't have to look at him after Friday.
He was bought for a purpose,
Exactly.
Right? So I'm like, he was bought for a purpose. Don't second guess the plan. Nakamba's disappointing, but then he got 3 tackles.
Yeah, he's one off.
He's one off, looking at it, thinking the great enabler is here for us. My biggest worry is Colwill at the moment, because he's my only captaincy coverage for this coming Sunday. And will he, won't he? And I won't see the team. So Colwill is a concern, because I could go into Sunday with no captain. So imagine that. Mo goes off and I've captained Trent, or I should maybe stick with Haaland. And no captain on the Sunday, I could fall quite far behind. So I need to make a decision.
Is that the regret you were talking about?
Colwill, a little bit, yeah. It wasn't so much owning Colwill, it wasn't giving myself a second captaincy option for this Sunday.
Which was part of the plan of what I've done with going
Martinez.
3-5-2. Because I spoke last week about leaving basically any attacking option from Chelsea as part of my idea, so I could go to Enzo Fernandez, or if Nicholas Jackson showed up, and I think they're both still very, very good options. The John Stones injury, and then moving that into Richarlison, has played into my hands now, where near enough every Chelsea player is accessible to me on Sunday. Yes, won't see the team, but current thoughts, maybe even just go Thiago Silva.
He was good.
And I know most people, what about Ben Chilwell? And that's absolutely fine as well. Both 8.5. I've got 1.8 in the bank, Suj.
This is my other problem, is I have no Manes. I haven't got the Manes.
So can you not get to any Chelsea player?
No, Gibbs-White to...
You really were drunk on Friday, weren't you?
To nowhere, basically. Well, I've got Colwill sitting there, but I don't have to go to a Chelsea player.
Who's your keeper?
It's Alisson.
A roundabout's way to find yourself some money, mate. Alisson to Sanchez on Sunday.
Well, now that Kepa's gone, he looks a great option.
Do you know my only concern with that?
They'll buy a keeper.
they're mad, right? They might, and that's also off-putting with Jackson.
Who are they going to buy? Steele or Verbruggen?
Yeah,
because they only go to Brighton to buy players.
Whatever's at Brighton, but I don't.
Who are Liverpool bidding for?
I don't think we could rule out the possibility that Chelsea do get another goalkeeper, which is concerning. And I don't think we can rule out the idea that they'll end up with another forward before this window shuts as well, partially because of the Nkunku injury. And I guess the profile of what type of forward they end up with will have an impact on if Jackson's still going to be first choice or not. What I saw on Sunday looks lively and great. And the other thing to say is I think, look, I wouldn't rule out going Jackson because you can have West Ham away, Luton at home, the Friday captaincy. That's what, now circa 9 days away. I think if Chelsea get a forward, it ends up after the Luton game. So you can always, again, chain it on to something else and you'll get effective 3 for 0s with at least one captaincy, arguably 2, where that's worthwhile. And that's also got me thinking, actually, Suj, about kind of the original plan I'd had if Kane was going to stay, about getting a couple of Chelsea maybe, then making the decision off an extra couple of games of which one to then move on to Kane. Now I'm thinking similarly about maybe losing Mo on Sunday.
Oof.
Just purely because, and come back to it quite straightforward, but look, we're always looking for 3 for 1s, right? So after Liverpool play Bournemouth on Saturday, Chelsea play West Ham away, Luton at home, Nottingham Forest at home. Salah then plays Villa at home the next day, and in between you miss Salah away to Newcastle. I mean, if you're looking for 3 for 1s, and they're effective more, it's not bad. And it also gives me, if I end up going, say, Morgan Gibbs White and, say, Salah to Chelsea, it gives me longer process, right? By the time that Liverpool-Villa game comes around, if I decide to go back, transfer window's shut. I've got all my information on Chelsea from that point, and I've left myself with 3. And then I think from there, I would take out the one that's weakest and most concerning to me. So it's not to say, I'm definitely going to do that, but that's one of the things I've got in mind. Why Mo rather than, say, other options would be, if I look ahead to next Saturday the 26th, Arsenal at home to Fulham, Manchester United at home to Nottingham Forest, Tottenham away to Bournemouth, I could still envisage captaining Rashford in that game, for example. So that's why at the moment it would probably be, in my circumstance, move a Salah rather than a Rashford, because I might want Rashford more for that captaincy. That's Sunday the 27th, when Liverpool go to Newcastle, City go to Sheffield United. So Mo's definitely not getting the armband there anyway, right?
Yeah.
So that's something I've got in my mind. I think the one that's probably the big regret, and I blame Ange for this, is not starting with Bissouma. And I think what I've seen from the weekend, and also with Kane leaving the league, and I think this is important and relevant, is that need for a Nakamba. I'm not sure it's going to be there with the likes of Bissouma. I think that might become the way. If Colwell stays in the team regularly enough for Chelsea, if Bissouma obviously stays in for Tottenham, where there's no reason to think that won't be the case going forward, then you could argue those are your cheapies. And because a premium option like Kane has gone, and his effective replacement is an 8 million forward, the need to be on, I think, particularly Haaland and Salah at the right times has become greater. With Haaland, it goes without saying, but I think it's become greater with Mo Salah now, because a lot of people were looking at dancing between, say, Salah, Kane at the same price throughout the season. Now I'm talking about dancing between Salah and getting the right Chelsea player, and then going back from the wrong Chelsea player, right? So I think the interest in Mo will be more important at certain points this season than it would have been, because the big choice when the game opened was, are we going to be able to fit Salah and Kane both in? Now it's not conversation. You just go Salah and Richarlison. And Richarlison's price, if you end up with, say, Richarlison and Bissouma type players, and we end up with our Lewis Dunks, even like Thiago Silva at reasonable prices, like you can afford a lot of stuff here. It's becoming clearer in terms of having these right premiums at the right time, I think. So Bissouma's the one I regret. That said, looking at the 5 I've got in midfield, Rashford, Gibbs White, Nakamba, Salah, Ruaidhri, the only one I would have changed there from the start was Nakamba. So it's not impossible that I go Gibbs White to Bissouma on Saturday, but I don't think that's necessary. I think as it stands now, it's more likely I'll take in the 2 Friday night games from Nakamba, which gives me an extra 2 games information at Tottenham, and from there I'll go Nakamba to Bissouma if I want to the next day. Because I don't deem, when I look at Nakamba, I would say, even from what we saw at the weekend, look, 3 tackles away to Brighton is fine, right? What we looked at suggested it'd probably be the big tackle monster potentially in the league. But for 0.7 more, I've got a Bissouma who is very capable of these tackle tiers as well. And in a lot of games where Tottenham dominate the ball, he's going to hit Parsons here, basically. And I think that even includes a game like Saturday against Manchester United. I think he'll hit passing tier on Saturday. And if that does happen, I think people are going to quickly be going, oh, yikes. I want to get him in at 7.3. And I think he could become the one. I was spooked because he didn't play against Shakhtar last Sunday, which was basically our first team. Then he basically played in the second team that played at Barcelona on Tuesday, and he was best player on the pitch. Should have trusted my own instinct a little bit more. But no regrets, right? If Nakamba pops up with a tackle tier and a goal against West Ham on that Friday night, it's the right decision, isn't it? But yeah, Bissouma's the one everybody in the game at the moment be looking at going, yeah, I want to get that in.
Yep.
But it's probably going to have to wait a few weeks for me.
So this weekend, you're thinking you're going to be
it's more important I
prioritise.
It's more important I prioritise the second Chelsea option, I think.
Yep.
And I think the most likely for me at the moment would be Thiago Silva. If I take out Salah, I think I would possibly punt Jackson as to become the third one. That's the thinking at the moment. Think of the idea here, Suj, where you end up with Haaland, Richarlison, Jackson as a front three. What's Jackson, 8.2? Richarlison's 8. We haven't really had this in Sky before because the kind of almost secondary tier forwards have always been too close to the premiums in the past to really consider them. If Richarlison and Jackson prove good options at 8 and 8.2 respectively, then we've got more money for the rest of the team, haven't we? So, yeah, it might be 2 Chelsea for me on Sunday. I'll have a think about it. Definitely 1. I think Thiago Silva would be the favoured right now. For you?
I'm confused.
About?
I don't know what to do.
Okay, can I help?
No. No. I've got decisions to make, basically, on whether or not I want to come off Gibbs White or stick, because I still want him for the couple of captaincies further down the line.
Come back for it. I'm really keen on come back.
Then I don't have any money.
What do you mean? Then you don't have any?
I've only got 7.9. I've only got Gibbs White's money to get a replacement.
Go Bissouma.
Yeah, I could go Bissouma. That frees me up 0.6, which I could use elsewhere, maybe.
Maybe you can use that for Chelsea. Have you got literally 0 in the bank?
Yeah, literally 0.
Literally, you can't go with like Richarlison at 8.
Yeah, I don't need Gibbs White for Manchester United and Chelsea away.
The thing is, right, I completely get it. You can look at that and go, oh, Gibbs White has got extras with the Burnley and Brentford fixtures on September the 18th and October the 1st, respectively, which are both single game days. Yeah, you can come back to it. But the reality is, between Sheffield United on Friday night and that Burnley game on Monday the 18th, nearly every other team plays 4 times, mate. And if you're throwing something in with a captaincy, again, it's worth doing. Chain it. One option for you, Suj, I think, looking the same price, is Benrahma.
I was going to suggest him, but whether or not it feels right going into Chelsea and Brighton with Benrahma, but it gives me the second captaincy coverage for the Luton game.
When it gives you a better captaincy option, let's be honest. Penalty taker away to Luton. Yeah. So Benrahma might be one that's a solution for usage. I would be very conscious about the not having the second Chelsea player. Not for this Sunday. It's more for the Luton game.
Yeah, but then and straight after Luton's Forest and Bournemouth. So it's like...
And this is why as well, I think there is a case to say, do I want to be on additional Chelsea rather than just one? Because exactly what you just said. It's not just West Ham away and Luton at home. Yes, sure, then you can come off something. But afterwards, there's Forest at home. And the Bournemouth away game on September the 17th could end up a single game day fixture as well. Because the other game that day, Newcastle against Brentford, could move back to the Saturday night if Newcastle play on the Champions League on the Tuesday afterwards. The Everton Arsenal game may therefore get moved to the Sunday, but I think it's possible, as we've kind of seen this week with City playing Newcastle at 8 o'clock, that it could just be 8 o'clock on a Saturday night and Bournemouth-Chelsea could become a single game week fixture. Then there's another one. Then further down the line, you've got Fulham-Chelsea on Monday the 2nd of October as well. And if, as I said, as a possibility, Chelsea's game at Burnley in the first weekend basically of October, which we should get the TV dates, I think, before probably the end of Saturday, probably latest. That's one of 4 games that could even be the Friday night. And at that point, if that was to happen, I almost look at it and go, do I want one of 3 Chelsea? Do I want 4? Because that fixture run's great, right? If it was City or Liverpool or something like that, we'd be asking how many... It's because we don't have enough information on Chelsea at the moment, right?
I'm looking at City for Sunday the 27th now as well, which is Sheffield United away, followed up by Fulham, West Ham, Forest, Wolves as 4 after. Arsenal play Fulham on the Saturday. So coming off of Saka and going to an additional City could work for me there. And then I'm missing United and Everton, but I've got 4 fixtures of City.
The reason that fixture City at Sheffield United is particularly important, if you want to get additional City, unless you're sitting there with the luxury of going, I can go Gibbs White to Ruaidhri on Saturday, for example, you need to be ringing that Sunday for Manchester City at Sheffield United because there isn't another entry point for Manchester City. That is it. And you will see the team when they play Sheffield United on Sunday 27th. So if you're sitting there now thinking, I need to work a plan to get Ruaidhri in as soon as possible, that's your day, really.
Yeah,
you need to work
that
out
run
how you're
for me,
there.
I need a defensive. Like, I feel like Sheffield United, Fulham, West Ham, Forest, if I told you 4 clean sheets, it wouldn't surprise you.
It might surprise me if you said that a City player was going to play all those games.
That's a different conversation.
And I'm not going to captain them, whereas I've got the likes of Dunk is going to sit there every week and play every game, and he's just not moving.
Yeah.
Right? So,
but Gvardiol or Diaz, depending on what happens, could be decent value.
Apparently, Al Nassr have bid for Laporte.
Okay, I heard we bid for him as well as trying to get this Paqueta as a negotiation.
Laporte at West Ham.
Yeah,
cut that, Nico.
Why not? You don't think he'd come?
No.
I don't know about that. He's not getting in the City team, so where's he going to go?
I can't believe no one's in for him.
Well, exactly that.
He's one of the best left-sided.
Why is it so funny then? If
he's
West
one
Ham
of the
bid
best
for him?
left-sided centre-backs around. I do think there's a trend in football at the moment that there's concern about pace of centre-backs because of the way teams are playing with inverted, etc., etc. And perhaps someone like Laporte is not as appealing as he might have been a couple of years ago, but he's still a brilliant centre-back.
There's no doubt about it. But I think 40 million to 50 million would get him. But unless there's the big asterisk.
You thought 30 million would get you Harry Maguire.
Indeed. Harry Maguire is an interesting one. That's one for Tottenham, which is today.
It is today.
For our Patreons. Head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL, where we'll be talking about those transfers. Indeed. Right. Captaincy?
Yes. Gibbs White Friday night. I think for me, clear message, and I'm sure this, I've not looked through the questions on Twitter, but I'm sure this will answer a couple. For me, if you haven't got anything, skip it. And I genuinely think as well, bin what you've got and get more information. And if you want to go back to Forest for those Burnley-Brentford games, then again, it's another 3 for 1 and then chain it into probably a Chelsea player on Monday the 2nd of October as well. So I think it's a bin. It might be by that point, by the way, that we look at a Burnley player who, a Cullen or a Roberts or something like that, a Bayer, even O'Shea maybe, we go, oh, that's the enabler I want. It might be that we end up with a Brentford player like a Flecken in goal or Mbumo maintains a good run or something. There'd be plenty of got Mbumo. So I think for me that's clear, really. Whatever you've got Friday night, you started with because of Friday night.
Correct.
Sell it for you've got a choice of 18 teams. And for those who've got Gibbs White, I really think strongly that should be look at a manipulation, maybe even of 2 transfers, if you've only got one Chelsea to have a second one. I think for those who've got Turner, you're going to be quite hopeful, I think, of returns. And actually, probably on paper, he's probably the best captaincy, I think. Because Sheffield United are just not in a position, I think, at the moment. I think Forest have to win the game. And anybody playing Sheffield United at the moment, you'd have half a fancy for a clean sheet. So Turner is probably, as it stands, the best shout for the captaincy on Friday night. My concern with that move was always, where do you go? Where do you go? If you haven't got money in the bank, you're probably sitting with it. If you've got sort of 0.5, 0.6 in the bank, Sanchez is obviously an option, although we have raised a little bit of concern there. He's 6'6". Reality is, if he does stay Chelsea's number 1, that's an amazing price, and we'll probably all want to go there. So I can see that. Sam Johnson at Palace is another option. It doesn't kind of feel right because obviously they're walking to Arsenal next, but there's some okay fixtures, particularly their home games. It's decent. I think he'll tick over at that value. It's fine. That's another one. Areola would also maybe give you the Luton West Ham coverage if you've got the money in the bank. He's 6'6". I'm in agreement with that. But yes, later again, at Tottenham today, I'm sure we'll discuss Flappy's outburst. Have you seen it?
Yep.
He's not happy. I think Areola I feel stronger about that now than I did on Monday with this outburst from Fabianski. I wouldn't be surprised if it was sold. So Areola will give you an option. So there's a few to go to. It's just not really anything at that same value. So again, it might be that you need to manipulate a couple of moves to move it off. I would. The reality is, what are we really expecting from Turner, Man United away, Chelsea away? That said, we returned a 4-pointer at Arsenal. So those who've gone there will be absolutely delighted at the moment. Could you take that? 4 points United, 4 points at Chelsea, you'd be over the moon.
Saturday is Salah Day.
I don't know. I'm not sure on that yet. I've got it bust on Haaland at the moment. It's just a do I need to take the risk of
surely Salah at Bournemouth is not is a safer pick than Haaland.
I know what you're saying. I'm going to watch as part of our talking tactics tomorrow. I'm going to watch the Bournemouth West Ham game. That might influence things, but I don't think it will. I don't think Liverpool will batter them on Saturday, from what I know so far. I'm sure Liverpool will beat them, but I don't know if it'd be enough for me to.
See, I'm in a different
to go against Haaland. If Liverpool playing Sheffield United at home, be all over it. Yeah, definitely.
See, I've got alternative Liverpool options in Trent and Alisson. I don't know in Salah.
I don't think you're not going over them.
If I owned Salah, I would captain Salah over Haaland.
But
I don't think I can go as far as captain Trent or Alisson.
Do I need to take on? A clean sheet
there is going to help me massively anyway because I've got double defence.
Do I need to take on the Haaland risk this early? My principal idea in FPL, and it's not to say it should be relatable to Sky at all, but my idea at the moment is Haaland's got a home game, he's getting the armband. If Haaland's got an away game against someone who might be in the battle to beat the drop, he's getting the armband. This is home game. So, like in FPL this week, me personally, I would probably advise other people to go Salah, but I would probably go Haaland on that basis of principle, which is taking away almost, like what Paul says, right? It's almost better for me to take the decision away from me because I don't like making that captaincy decision. And from that perspective, Haaland is the safer call.
Massively. I mean, he's at 87% overall, 80% top 1K. We can't look at 1K. 87%. Salah's like 30.
If this is game week 35 and I'm trying to make ground and stuff and captain Salah all day long, I'm just not convinced that I need
nearly 3 times the ownership, mate. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to be Haaland. I'm going to keep it safe and stick with Haaland.
I think I would be Haaland, but if anybody has a massive preference for Salah on that, yeah. I mean, I think if you look at, I don't know what the bookies' odds would be, to be honest, in terms of who would be favoured. Haaland's always so short anyway, so. I think I'm not going to take the risk. I think I'll just go Haaland personally. But obviously, bear in mind, they've got the Super Cup game tonight. So that might influence things.
Sunday, I've only got Colwill. So I'm going to be going Colwill as it stands. Don't rule out me selling Gibbs White to try and get myself another captaincy option for Sunday, though.
The good news is, look, Colwill was just a little bit short of the passing against Liverpool, which I think that we wouldn't have expected anything in that particular fixture anyway.
Like 55 or so, wasn't it?
Yeah, their numbers were good, and they'll be even better against West Ham. You can see that when we might look at a couple of bits with Bournemouth in a second. So we'd think Colwill will hit passing tier. So I think he's a reasonable one. At the moment, I've got it bust on Emi Martinez. Home to Everton.
Yeah. Same. Martinez has just conceded 5 goals, but yes.
I'll be honest with you. If Neil Moore plays in the Everton team, that'll probably lock that in. He's laughing, but I'm genuinely being serious.
I'm laughing because it's funny and true. Crystal Palace, Arsenal. I went with Saka over Saliba. I'm going to stick with Saka over Saliba. He looks lively. Lively.
I've got to go through this pain again. It'll be Saliba for me Monday night.
Let's talk about the games then and any kind of tiering, because there was a few interesting people that did and didn't pick up tiering.
Yeah, I'll just go through some bits we've obviously not covered. I think on City defenders, it's way too cloudy. I said this on Monday's podcast that City in theory could line up with a completely different back four against Newcastle. So I wouldn't be getting overly excited about Akanji hitting 89 passes and things like that. You know, more of interest is obviously Ruaidhri, the god. Tier 2, shot, pass, tackle, goal, assist. It's the dream game. Absolutely brilliant. We've had it a few times where you get kind of double tier 2 and 1 tier 1 or something. But to hit tier 2, everything in his position and goal and assist, that's brilliant. I think Burnley players are really worth keeping an eye on ahead of that single game day against Nottingham Forest. What's the shame about that for Burnley is afterwards we've got Manchester United, Newcastle, Chelsea as the 3 fixtures that follow that. So it probably will be, as it's a home game for Forest, probably go back there or skip. But I think, as I said near the start, players like Roberts, O'Shea, Bayer, Cullen, I think all worth keeping an eye on from a Burnley perspective. For Arsenal, if you're a Gabriel owner, the good news is you'll see the team on Monday night, and I think if he's not in it, you probably just go to Saliba.
Be done with it.
But I think he probably will come back in, so probably don't panic, is what I'd say. Declan Rice also, obviously, multiple tiers at the weekend.
Of tiers anyway.
Only tier 1 tackles, so you're just a poor man's Ruaidhri as far as I'm concerned. The caveat with Arsenal, when you look at their massive Saliba numbers, like 127, Forest were the lowest in the league for possession last year. They might well be again. So these numbers, even things like Saka 47 passes, Havertz 47, Odegaard 53, against Forest shouldn't particularly surprise us at all. So I think that's a difficult one to gauge on Rice. He's someone, if I'd landed in a problem on Sunday, say with the midfield, I might think, I'll add him on Monday, because it certainly is going to tick over. My suspicion is if they carry on with the way they played on Monday, that kind of moved into 3-1-6, he will chip in with some attacking stuff as well.
Yeah, he had a couple of good efforts, right?
Yeah.
So, he picked up a shot here in this, but he did hit the post and stuff as well. I'm
not desperate to get there, though, is what I would say at the moment. Forests, we've covered. I generally, just repeat what I said, if you haven't got anything, I think it's a skip. Bournemouth, interestingly, again, West Ham, a team will give up possession more than we would expect of most teams. But Senesi, 43 passes in an hour, Zabani 77, and Senesi, worth saying, went off because of an injury, so he probably would have got in tier 1 passing. Joe Rothwell hit it as well. Zabani, I think particularly, is one really to keep an eye on. So their fixtures are rough for a really good while until we get into October. If there's a good entry point in October, I think he'll be worth considering. He's 6.6 defender, and once they get to the end of that run, which kind of finishes with Arsenal on Saturday the 30th of September, after that, their fixtures are good and sustained pretty much up to overhaul, to be totally honest, because their start is so bad. So he might be one. If he's looking like he's going to produce good numbers potentially, and we do expect Bournemouth to be far more possession-based now under Andoni Iraola, him at 6.6 down the line generally could be interesting. It's just a name really, really to keep an eye on, I think. For West Ham, look, there's plenty there that you can consider on Sunday. I think Areola comes into the conversation now. I'd steer clear of the defenders in itself because we won't get the pass and tiers, and we know there's obviously interest in Harry Maguire, for example, at the moment.
And Laporte.
Paquetá could move. 8 tackles, though.
Could move, is likely to move.
Well, Kevin De Bruyne, yesterday we heard bad. The estimates this morning is 4 months.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's every chance that he may well move, and he may well be very interested at Manchester City, perhaps.
Very interesting.
What price is he, Paquetá?
8, I think, from memory.
Yeah, but then Kovacic is quite cheap as well, isn't he? And I suppose he'll probably go into competition
I think it's just
now.
all round. I love players that score points in different ways, and Paqueta's definitely one of them.
What's the overall ownership? And there's not huge point looking at 1,000 yet, because it's obvious the players who performed well in most of the teams are the top 1,000. Plus, factoring at the moment, there's so many managers who've spunked 5 transfers already. I had a look at a couple near the top who have got their teams open, and sure enough, they've used 5 transfers. Don't worry about it too much at the moment. Bowen overall ownership?
Bowen's overall ownership. Where are we? Jared Bowen, who chipped in with a goal and 7 points. 6.3. 6.4.
I tell you why he's in my mind a little bit. I think more people in your situation, not necessarily with nothing in the bank, but he just basically can't be a consideration right now. With the money I've got in the bank, he can be. And I'm a little tempted by that. A little. I won't rule out punting him if I feel like it. But
you're a fixtures guy, and they're rubbish.
Yeah, but it's Chelsea at home. If I get him, I could be captain him, Suj. Genuinely.
Yeah.
Particularly if Morpay's not in the Everton team. Brighton away, and then captain at Luton away, and then move it on to something else straight afterwards.
It does give you a very good captaincy coverage for the Luton game, yeah, no doubt about
that.
Well,
that's the point. If we looked at that right now and said, right, if Luton and West Ham playing each other this weekend as a single game down on the Sunday, and we said, who's the best person to get for captain, we'd probably say Jared Bowen, wouldn't we? So, yeah, I think it's probably a no, but I wouldn't rule it out. Brighton passing numbers, you dunk 100 plus. Guys, if you're new to the game, get used to this. Interestingly, significantly more than Jan-Paul van Heck, who played next to him. He is dirt cheap, though. We do think he'll play more this year. He's 6'7", I want to say, Van Heck. One maybe to keep an eye on. Just bear in mind, obviously,
6'7", yeah.
They've got Igor Julio in from Fiorentina, who I think will get eased into the team. But interesting that Van Heck was picked ahead of Webster. I don't think Webster wasn't even on the bench, was he? I don't know if he might have had a little bit of a niggle, maybe. Gross and Dahoud played in midfield. So those who gambled Billy Gilmore, that's unfortunate. Dahoud is certainly one to keep an eye on. Luton, I don't think there's...
Who gambled Billy Gilmore? 0.3%. I bet you only know one person that gambled Billy Gilmore.
Okay.
2 people.
0.3%.
0.3.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Right, so what's that? 3 people out of every 1,000. So there's 3.
Yeah, but we don't know these people,
There's
James.
at least 3 of you in each 1,000.
We didn't know these people.
I'm guaranteeing you someone listening or watching to this has got Billy Gilmore. I guarantee it.
Yeah, but only one. Because only 1,000 people listen.
You lying sucker.
Estepinian?
This is interesting.
8.1. The thing with him, again, comes back down to I like players that score points in multiple ways.
And he can.
He just is a bit of everything everywhere all the time. He is
I would say, in seriousness, passing is not likely to be there that often. How often is he going to shoot 2 shots on target, being serious? Tackle tiers he's obviously capable of because of his positioning as well. More likely in more difficult games. Yeah, he's brilliant. I just could not make any case to have Estupiñán over Dunk. Just purely on Dunk starts on 5 points nearly every single game.
And you can't double up. You wouldn't double up necessarily.
I think there's some, again, who will have, and that's absolutely fine, but I think that was the way to start, not to now go to. If you started on it, you're looking at it going, I'm definitely going to take these first
Wolves,
3.
West Ham, for
sure. Absolutely, yeah. Okay. Fulham had a lot of the ball at Everton, but not much of the XG. 9 saves for Bernd Leno. And he's another one, I guess, if you've got more in the bank from Turner, you could go there. It probably feels like wrong time, having missed the Everton game, and then it's Brentford, Arsenal, Manchester City next. He would potentially maybe give you a coverage for the Monday the 2nd October game against Chelsea, but it'd probably be a Chelsea game as and when it comes round. Neil Maupay did have 3 shots on target, Suj. Sheffield United against Crystal Palace. Gay and Anderson passing tiers. We shouldn't be surprised about that in a fixture such as this. Max Lowe, 8 tackles for Sheffield United. League One Wes apparently played quite well in goal, 7 tackles. Keep an eye out for, if he plays on Friday night, Vinicius Souza, new signing that they've bought in. I think he's coming at 6.7, Suj. Destroyer is the word I've heard spoken for him. So another one that potentially will come into contention for tackle tiers. And those ones appeal more at clubs like Sheffield United, Luton, because you're not so interested in assets from the rest of the team. Sven Botman sneaked into passing for Newcastle against Aston Villa. A note on Isak. Obviously, he's had 3 shots on target, scored twice, and had he not been replaced a couple of minutes earlier, I probably would have had the hat-trick for Wilson's goal, because I'm sure he would have been in the same place, to be totally honest. I would have concerns about them when the fixtures restart. When they play Brentford Sunday the 17th of September, which as said could get moved back to the Saturday, that is a clear entry point. In any case, they definitely play at Sheffield United the following Sunday, so there's another entry point. And that little run there of Brentford, Sheffield United, Burnley, West Ham, Palace, Wolves does look good. And we can guarantee as well, Saturday the 4th of November, they'll play Arsenal on a Saturday. That's almost a certainty with the way the fixtures work out. So there's an exit point after that Arsenal game, maybe, should you want it, where perhaps the fixtures begin to get a bit tougher, although looking further ahead, you could argue that they don't. My real concern with Isak, I think he could be great, right? It's a good price. But how much rotation is he going to see with Wilson when that Champions League starts up right there? I'm not sure. If one of them's injured, I'm very interested in the other one, is what I would say. And I think defensively, particularly around those Brentford, Sheffield United, Burnley fixtures, we might find the defensive ones are more interesting, because judging by Saturday, the likes of Botman and Cher could well be capable of passing to in some of those particular fixtures. Villa, you can definitely go in on the likes of Watkins this week. Diaby played really well in the first half.
Shot tier 1 for him.
Real good differential. Yeah, I think it's 8.1, I want to say.
He is.
So, to be honest with you, if you're sitting there with Gibbs White and I can't get to the Chelsea one I want, I've got 0.2 in the bank, and you got no coverage for that, that's Diaby in, and I think captain on Sunday as well. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Watkins would be a good get. The reason I went a bit colder on Watkins was essentially down to Richarlison, and just being 1.3 cheaper, and then thinking if Jackson develops as well, I'm going to want to go there and get there. Hence why I didn't go there. But Watkins, I think Watkins is probably the best captaincy option Sunday of all the players. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think so.
Tottenham.
Maybe a Chelsea attacker.
Maybe I don't think so at your place. I think it's Watkins. You're looking at
home
game,
against Everton.
Who's got the big ceiling? So like Martinez is nice for me in a sense, and possibly 18 points, right? I'd be delighted to get the 22 out of it
as a captain.
Yeah,
so doubled up basically.
Yeah, but which one's more likely to go off? It's Watkins, isn't it? It's Watkins and then Diaby, I think. To be honest, on Sunday, 107 passes for Basuma, 3 tackles as well. The tackle number, the less Tottenham have of the ball, will go up. He is at the hub of everything in the attacks, and he plays these short little passes where he plays it, gets it back, plays it, gets it back. Brentford, obviously, are the sort of team that in fixtures against the bigger clubs are happy to give up the ball. So let's see how that plans out against Manchester United this weekend, and maybe even, as I said, the Bournemouth game, because as mentioned, we're expecting them to be more possession orientated, and then there's even the Burnley game after that as well, where they're going to want to have some domination of the ball. But my instinct is at the moment, he's got 107 against Brentford. Any game that Tottenham hit more than 50% possession, I think he'll be in the tiers, because he's just absolutely at the hub of it. Emerson Royal will have staggered people. 96 completed passes. Massive. I'd said, for those who've been listening to the FPL content, he's the fullback that gets it best what's being asked of him. Also, he's very safe. So someone like a Porro is more ambitious in terms of what he's wanting and trying to do. With Emerson, he'll give it short passes, same thing to whichever better player is nearest to him. And frankly, in terms of quality, there's 9 of them, right? So, but that doesn't make him necessarily a bad asset for Sky. What might make him a bad asset for Sky is don't expect clean sheets. I'm sure anybody who watched the game has seen that as well. Udogie is well worth keeping an eye on once these fixtures ease up a little bit. Watch the game. The Saturday game against Manchester United is going to give us a lot of information for Sky. I think Tottenham will dominate the ball in that game. I think it will surprise people. Passing for Mickey van der Ven and also Davinson Sanchez, so we can assume if Romero had stayed on, he would have hit it there for as well. Shots from Mbumo Vissa. We shouldn't be surprised about the low passing numbers for Brentford. Lots of nears in the tackles, if you will. Chelsea-Liverpool, Thiago Silva, 111 passes is monstrous. We didn't think Chelsea would play a back three. Mauricio Pochettino is claiming it wasn't a back three, but it basically was a back three, certainly within possession, and Chelsea had a lot of it, more than we expected. This size performance as what's made the Colwell concern come about, because you're going, he's all right. Can Thiago Silva play left-sided centre-back in a back four? Well, the answer is yes. On Enzo Fernandez, 85 passes, brilliant. In these type of fixtures last season, he wasn't picking up the tiers. It was the really big games, he wasn't hitting it. Here's one where he has, but again, there's the counter to that to say they had a lot more of the ball than we expected. My other little concern with him at the moment is with the signings of Casado, and we think Lavia will go through as well. There is a thought process that they want him to play a bit higher up. That might make him more interesting in terms of offensively. I don't know if it makes him more interesting for Sky.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I think he's a flip at the moment, whether he's going to end up being as good as we thought or not. He was very close to being in my team to start with, right? Jackson, 2 shots on target. Looked good. Looked really lively. The Liverpool numbers are concerning. Trent, 24. Van Dijk, 26.
Ridiculously low.
Yeah.
I'm not judging it till after Bournemouth, because I feel like it could just be a weird anomaly and just draw a line under it.
There probably is. They probably weren't prepared because Chelsea played a back four, which Pochettino's still saying it was. In all of their pre-season games, I think Liverpool were a little bit moved and spooked perhaps by what Chelsea were doing and probably weren't prepared for it. And that might have led to, let's say, the domination Chelsea had in terms of the ball. Did you watch United and Wolves on Monday night?
No, I didn't. I listened to it on radio. The Wolves battered them.
Staggering. And with that in mind, there's a number of Wolves players who may not have shown up in terms of tiers here that I think we should really keep an eye on in future weeks. João Gomez is one. Pedro Neto look like Pedro Neto of a couple of years ago. Yeah, absolutely. Cunha is a 7.2 forward. I think that might be worth watching further down the line.
He's going to be the main striker there.
Yeah.
Even if Kladzic is fit again. He is fit because he came off the bench.
He's probably more Silva would probably be longer. What Wolves fans, most of them want, I hear, is like Cunha to play a little bit deeper with Silva. Cunha's more dangerous when he is deeper because he's a really good ball carrier.
Kladzic is a unit though.
Ask Onana about that, right?
There was a fun stat on the radio. He's the second tallest player in the Premier League, Kladzic, 6'5". Do you know who's the tallest?
Is it Trafford?
No.
Isn't Trafford 6'6"?
I'm sure he was second tallest.
So who's tallest then?
Someone who's 6'7". I'm pretty sure.
Is it Mickey?
No. Plays for Newcastle.
Mickey's 6'4". Oh, Dan Burn.
Dan Burn is the tallest player in the Premier League. Fun fact.
I think Trafford's 6'6".
Is he?
I think so. Yeah. For United, tears for Bruno Fernandes tackles, which for the Bruno owners probably quite happy with that, the way the game went.
Yeah.
With Rashford, to repeat what I said, I still look at that Saturday the 26th fixture against Nottingham Forest and think I may end up captaining him. So it's a no-go in terms of selling him at that moment. And I think generally for the United assets you've got, that's probably your plan at the moment, is look at moving that on after Saturday 26th into a Manchester City, ideally Sunday the 27th, for example, because on that showing Monday night, there is nothing there that's going to appeal. I don't know. I know if you went Lisandro Martinez, I don't know if that was injury related, the fact he was on a booking, why he came off. I'm sure he probably will play at Tottenham. I also wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if he plays in midfield at Tottenham.
Okay.
I think that's a possibility. But again, I think that's a hold through. Anything United you've got, that's a hold through to Nottingham Forest, but they go to Arsenal afterwards, and then it's Brighton after that, and I could conceivably say move it on. The only problem with moving it on, there isn't a good entry point back. So that's another caution. Whereas, say, like I said, we're coming off Salah. If you look at Liverpool's fixtures, so okay, Sunday 27th Newcastle, Sunday the 3rd against Aston Villa, Sunday the 24th against Aston Villa, and we know that against West Ham. We know there's going to be more Sundays because of their Europa League involvement, right? So with United, you're more likely to get stuck with Saturdays. So you have got to have a little bit more conviction when you come off of a player who's playing for a Champions League team, particularly because they're going to have more Saturday games than, say, Liverpool, Villa, West Ham, and Brighton as examples.
Cool. When we were going through the Chelsea game, it reminded me of something funny. Do you want
I thought you were going to say they bought someone. I was going to say I'm not surprised.
Our friend Expressions Oozin, the Tottenham guy.
Oozin?
He's got a new nickname for one of the Chelsea players that I saw, and it's possibly one of my favourites so far, so I thought I'd share it.
Go on.
Mudryk.
Yeah.
Ukraine Bolt.
The Ukraine Bolt?
Just Ukraine Bolt.
Oh, right.
Hey, I quite like that one.
Ukraine Bolt.
Rapid.
He is
and
rapid,
from Ukraine.
I don't know if he's ever going to show himself up to have an end product, but he is rapid.
He is now the player that will forever be known as Ukraine Bolt.
Okay, Ukraine Bolt.
Good one. Shall we get into some of the questions that we've had?
Go on, let's do anything we ain't touched on.
Thing that we post.
Twitter, X, whatever it's called this week.
It's called X. While I pull it up, James. So yeah, you're like, I think Bissouma's a good. My conclusion from what we've spoken about, I think Bissouma might be my
really
exit
keen.
plan.
Again, though, there must be a small caveat that Brentford will give up more of the ball than the quality of the team. Right? They aren't a possession-based football team, similar to Bournemouth playing against West Ham. So we do need more information, I think, on, say, a Zabani. You're not going to go and buy anyway. That's a bad example. But Bissouma, I think, just a little bit more. But if you ask me now, I think he hits tier two passing against Manchester United on Saturday.
Cool. We'll go through a few of these questions that we've had in on X, and then we'll wrap, because in 5 minutes, James, the England ladies kick off.
Yes.
Good luck to them. Hopefully we get through to the final, which will be Sunday. And assuming
by the time you've heard this, they've either won or lost. So
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Gazman, don't have Ruaidhri. Is it worth taking out Gibbs White after this week and downgrading Trent? I'm assuming to get Ruaidhri. Ruaidhri does feel a bit points chasey right now.
So with that, you could set it up. And what I mean by that is you let Ruaidhri go against Newcastle, because presumably you need to move Trent to set it up, right? So one way of setting that up, I think, would be to move Trent to a Chelsea player on Sunday. and then or Morgan Gibbs White to a Chelsea player, but set it up so that you can get to Ruaidhri for the Sheffield United game. There's multiple ways you can set that, but it means buying someone on Sunday or Monday. It's going to be obviously selling Trent, I suppose, isn't it? Whether you want to hold Gibbs White for Man United away, man, but you don't want to sell Trent for Bournemouth, so it's got to wait. So I think you're taking Gibbs White away to Manchester United as well, which, who knows, judging by Manchester United on Monday evening, maybe Gibbs White will return in that one. But if that's truly what you want to do, it's Trent to something on Sunday to set up to get Ruaidhri the following Sunday.
Slice SR, can we have a look at your Sky Planner and how to use it, please? We'll head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL.
Yeah, from Basic
Sign up
Plus, you've
to
got it.
to the £5 tier and you'll get access to James's spreadsheet. Well worth it. Like I've always said, I can't play Sky without it. FPL Pires, this is a quick and easy one. First year playing Sky. Any thoughts on JWP? I fancy him, and West Ham make a good combo. I mean, he's a good-looking guy.
Do you think he goes...
especially with the extra time.
Do you think he goes straight in the team Sunday? Probably yes, I would say.
If Maguire doesn't sign, it wouldn't surprise me if they gave him the armband, because there's such a lack of depth of captaincy and he's just captain Southampton.
I tell you what,
It wouldn't surprise me.
Bold, but not completely
crazy.
Yeah.
See how he settles in. But he's 8.4, James, and there's just a ton of options at lower that I think are better. So now is not the time for JW.
The other thing as well is also when he was at Southampton, when they played weaker teams, he was capable of everything. I don't see many games where it passing tier for West Ham, even against the weakest teams, to be totally honest. Is he going to chip in with all the set-piece stuff and that? Yes. But will he chip in more to make him worth 1.1 more than a Basuma, for example, we're looking at now going, he's probably going to average sort of 4 points a week minimum as it looks at the moment.
We have FPL Matt says, is Onana to Sanchez the next keeper move? I'd say
I don't mind
on
that.
the 1st of September. Because the transfer window will have closed by then and you're not shooting yourself in the foot.
No, but the problem you've got then is, in terms of coming back round for Chelsea, you'll wait until Sunday the 17th for Bournemouth. So you've missed West Ham, Luton, Nottingham Forest. That's probably when to come back, by which point there's others will have taken the gamble and been proven right. So I guess it comes down to interpretation. Do you think Chelsea are going to buy somewhere else or not? I think that they're definitely going to go and get something, but it might be to go and get a number 2. I'm sure Sanchez probably thinks he's going there and going to be number 1. And I don't... Listen, with them, there's such a basket case, and it's not even necessarily a criticism, but you know that they're going to spend more. That's my concern to relate it back to, say, Jackson. It's a bit murky. So almost whatever you buy there is going to be a little bit of a gamble, which is why I think Chilwell really appeals right now. Because you look at them and go, well, they've got Cucurella in reserve. They're not going to add in that position. At centre-back, Thiago Silva, Disasai, Colwell, Badiashile, we expect to be back and available for selection around about the Luton game. I suspect he probably won't make that particular game, or at least not start it. But centre-back now should be covered. But the other areas of the team, right back you can say as well with James and Gusto, the other areas of the team, i.e. goalkeeper and the forward positions, they might still invest more. I don't know. That's the concern. And I think when you break that down for Sky, it's like, do I need to take the risk? And therefore you lean back into your Enzos, your Silvers. And Chilwell you can put in there. If you want to go Chilwell for the offensive stuff, crack on. Go for it.
Let's wrap this show with...
It's worth saying, Thiago Silva scored the same as Chilwell at the weekend. Let's remember that.
Another kind of Chelsea-focused question, because all the questions, James, focus around 2 things: getting rid of Gibbs White and where to go, particularly Chelsea.
I'm guessing a lot of the community's on Gibbs White then, are they?
Huge.
I mean, I'd estimated on what we looked at last week, it was probably a quarter probably of the real engaged managers had probably gone down that route.
It's 5% overall, but yeah. So the question, James, is Caicedo too early to go there as your Gibbs White replacement? Because he's 8 million. Will he get into the team at the weekend?
Don't know.
The jumps to like
I can't,
Enzo at 8.4.
What price Caicedo?
8.
I can't justify that yet.
Yeah, I'm in the same.
And it might be that he turns out absolutely great, by the way. But I just I don't think so. I don't think we could guarantee that he goes straight in the team. He probably does, but when there are other good options at really similar pricing, do you need to take that risk? And I'm sure it's probably someone sitting there, I got 0.1 in the bank. And yeah, I get that. But nah, you'd be gutted if you do it. And he doesn't start till Forest in match day 4, for example. You'd be gutted.
Cool. Thank you so much for sending in your questions and for tuning into this week's episode of Planet Sky FF each and every Wednesday. If you do like the show, then subscribe, hit the notification bell. You get told when new episodes go live, and head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL if you want to support the show. You get access to our Sky League, and we have a Sky Slack channel, which is very interactive, and also James' spreadsheet planner. And
there's Patreon mini league as well.
There is.
I keep forgetting to put the mini leagues in the code, but Nico's going to put it up in the video again.
Lovely jubbly.
Did you save the graphic? Yeah, of course he did. He's the best.
Cool. Other than that, it leaves me to say stay safe, look after yourselves, and ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. As always, play it your way. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child. England, 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 England.